Welcome back to the Bobcat News.
I'm Dakita Williams.
And I'm Eric South. Today we'll be looking at the recent Cinderella performance.
A play's called Cinderella, and have you heard of it? It's a well-known child's fairy tale. We've been rehearsing since the first day of school, every day, mostly, some Saturdays, and yeah, they're pretty long practices too.
I have a hard time memorizing the stage directions, but the words are really easy for me. I think it's going really well right now. We still have a few kinks to work out, but I think it'll be awesome, yeah.
I think we go really well, practice a lot, and everyone's pretty talented.
Yeah, we've all gotten to be pretty good friends, which is nice. We're performing next week, November 8th, 9th, 10th, and the 12th.
Thank you, Michael and Eliza, for speaking to us about the play. The next play is The Nutcracker on the 1st of December and the 3rd.
Now we're going to take a look at virtual reality.
It's called virtual reality, and as Jay Schaefer found out, all it takes is a special helmet and a glove, and you're off.
Virtual reality has come back into the picture, with Oculus and Vive headsets for powerful PCs and the PSVR for PlayStation. And now Oculus plans to release the Quest, which is a standalone headset that they hope will bring VR to the mainstream public.
It is shipping in the spring, and it is going to cost $399.
If you don't think that's cool enough, Haptics just released haptic gloves for developers that allow you to feel the size, texture, shape, temperature, and even weight of virtual objects. And now FeelReal has a mask that allows you to experience smell in a virtual environment. The future of VR looks bright, but the question is, where did all this come from? Arguably the first form of virtual reality was the stereoscope. The process was researched and used by Charles Wheatstone in 1838, and over 100 years later, in 1939, the process was perfected and brought to the public by William Gruber with the ViewMaster. These are great advancements in the technology of 3D images. But in 1935, a story is written by Stanley G. Weinbaum called Pygmalion Spectacles, and is thought to be the first specific concept of a virtual reality, in which states, if one could make a movie, very real indeed, and suppose I make it so that you are in the story. You speak to the shadows and the shadows reply. And instead of being on a screen, the story is all about you, and you are in it. Suppose now I add taste, smell, and even touch.
Anything sound familiar yet? It should, because a lot of people believe this story was the foundation of VR as we know it today. And now, let me introduce to you the Sensorama! Patented by Morton Helig in 1962, the arcade-style cabinet allowed you to experience film with all 5 of your senses, with stereo speakers, a stereoscopic 3D display, smell generators, vibrating chair, and fans. But after a while, these gimmicky devices just lost their novelty, because technology hadn't reached the point where people could experience a true virtual reality, until about 1987, when the term virtual reality was coined by Jaron Lanier. He and his company released the iPhone 1, which cost you around $9,400, and the gloves for $9,000. With the visor and gloves, you could be in a simulated environment in which you could be tracked in your movements, and it looked a little bit like this. This started the first golden age of VR, and a craze throughout the 90s caught a hold of pop culture. And then Nintendo decided to release the Virtual Boy, which despite its hopeful pre-release, it inevitably failed and was one of the most hated and worst selling Nintendo consoles of all time. And then VR kind of died. And over a decade later, in 2011, a little-known book called Ready Player One was written by Ernest Cline, which again sparked the idea of a virtual reality, with a virtual world called the Oasis with an infinite amount of possibilities. Then, less than a year later, a small company called Oculus announced the Rift DK1, which started the modern-day line of VR headsets as we know it today. But what does VR mean to us in our current society? Well, as of right now, VR has been proven to improve exercise habits with games like Beat Saber and Hollow Point. It has been proven to help recover people with paralysis and those with PTSD. But probably the most important thing we have seen VR do is benefit education. Imagine being a teacher and instead of having your students read about an event in a textbook, you would take them to the actual event in a virtual environment. VR is still an undiscovered technology, and whether it becomes a fad that people will forget about in a few years or a tool we use every day is based on what people will develop for it. If done right, VR could become a completely new way of learning and living.
Open this weekend, and for everyone that ski or snowboard, let's take a look.
It's that time of year again, everyone. Ski season. Grand Targhee Resort opened Friday, November 16th. This year marks Targhee's 50th year anniversary and it is a really big deal. We had Tristan tell us about his plans for opening day this year.
I ski. I'm gonna go up at like 2 a.m. and try to get first chair this year. Just hitting like cliff drops into powder because they have all kinds of terrain and all my friends go there, so it's fun to go ski with them.
Most of you probably know what and where Targhee is, but did you know a lot of other people around here have no idea, and it's not actually that popular of a ski resort. It is growing with the years, but compared to Jackson Hole and other resorts in Utah, Targhee isn't as known. It's located 20 minutes east of Driggs, Idaho, with 2,454 feet of vertical elevation to ski and 2,000 lift-accessed acres of skiing. Along with 500 inches of snow annually, it's not a place you want to miss out on. Targhee is also one of the first resorts to open near us and has one of the longest seasons of any resort around here due to its north and west facing terrain. Get up there and take advantage of this great opportunity we all have.
Thanks, Justin and River. If you want to get to Targhee, get there fast.
Have a great day and see you next time on the Bobcat News.